Daniel, I confronted him, trying to keep my voice calm. Why are you transferring my stocks and properties into your name? He didn't flinch. He just stared at me with a smirk I had never seen before. Because I can, he said simply. I laughed, thinking it was a joke. You can't be serious. Oh, I am. He leaned closer, his voice dropping into something darker. You belong to me now. Everything you own, everything you are, is mine. I froze. My name is Emily. I always dreamed of a fairy tale wedding. The dress, the lights, the whispers of congratulations under floating lanterns. It was everything I imagined and more. My father, Governor Liang, made sure it was the grandest wedding in Hangzhou. Everyone who mattered was there. And standing at the altar, with that quiet smile and polished suit, was my groom, Daniel. Daniel Liang, not by blood, but the man I had given my heart to. He was charming, respectful, and knew exactly what to say. My father adored him. My friends were jealous. To the world, Daniel was the ideal husband. To me, he was perfect, until he wasn't. Our wedding night was magical. He whispered sweet promises as he held me close in the soft candlelight of our hotel suite. It felt like the beginning of something beautiful. And maybe, in a twisted way, it was. That night, I conceived our child. I remember the warmth, the love, or what I thought was love, drifting over me like silk. But 3 weeks later, things started to change. At first, it was subtle. He became colder, more distant. He snapped at the maids, ignored my calls. I blamed it on stress. He said he was dealing with business. I wanted to believe him. I had to believe him. Then one morning, I noticed he had accessed my financial accounts. All of them. Daniel, I confronted him, trying to keep my voice calm. Why are you transferring my stocks and properties into your name? He didn't flinch. He just stared at me with a smirk I had never seen before. Because I can, he said simply. I laughed, thinking it was a joke. You can't be serious. Oh, I am. He leaned closer, his voice dropping into something darker. You belong to me now. Everything you own, everything you are, is mine. I froze. Daniel, this isn't funny. My father. Before I could finish, he slammed his palm against the marble countertop. Don't you dare mention your father to me, he growled. Unless you want to end up like my first wife. My blood ran cold. Your first, what? He smiled again, this time it chilled me to the bone. Didn't know, did you? She talked too much. Poked around where she shouldn't. One night, I took her for a drive. She never came back. I took a step back, my legs trembling. You're lying. Am I? He asked, reaching into a drawer and pulling out a silver necklace. It was dainty. Feminine. And not mine. She wore this the night I tossed her into the river, he said, dangling it in front of me. Now listen carefully, Emily. If you so much as whisper a word of this to your father, I'll make sure no one finds your body. Not even your precious governor daddy. I couldn't breathe. I couldn't think. And then, just then, the nausea hit me. I rushed to the bathroom and vomited. I thought it was the horror of what he'd said, but it wasn't. It was life. A life growing inside me. The next day, the pregnancy test confirmed it. I was carrying the child of a killer. I stared at the 2 pink lines on the test strip, hands shaking so badly I nearly dropped it. My reflection in the bathroom mirror was pale and broken, a ghost of the girl who had walked down the aisle weeks ago. Pregnant. With Daniel's child. The man who just confessed to murdering his first wife. I wanted to scream. To run. But fear sat on my chest like a boulder. I kept remembering his words, I'll make sure no one finds your body. What kind of monster had I married? Emily, Daniel called from the hallway, his voice syrupy but laced with menace. Everything okay in there? I swallowed hard, tucked the test behind the toilet tank, and forced my voice steady. Yes, just a little nausea. He opened the door without knocking. I stood quickly, hiding my panic behind a tired smile. His eyes scanned the room, sharp, calculating, but he said nothing. That night, he held me as I lay stiff in bed, my mind racing. He kissed my shoulder like a loving husband. I flinched. He chuckled. I know what you're thinking, he whispered. But you won't tell anyone. You won't dare. And he was right. I didn't dare. Not because I didn't want to, but because I had something more precious than fear now. I had a child growing inside me. The days became a blur. Daniel changed all the passwords to my accounts. My bank card stopped working. He cut off my phone. Even my laptop disappeared from the study. I had no access to the outside world unless he approved it. Our luxurious villa in Suzhou became my prison. One with glass windows, designer curtains, and a smiling devil as a warden. The staff behaved oddly too. The housekeeper, Mrs. Li, avoided eye contact with me. The driver, Jian, who used to chat warmly, now barely nodded. I realized they feared him too. Or maybe they were part of it. One night, I gathered the courage to speak with Mrs. Li while she was folding laundry in my room. Mrs. Li, please, I whispered. Can you help me call my father? Just let him know I'm okay. That I'm safe. She didn't look up. You are not safe, young madam, she said under her breath. But if I help you, my family will pay the price. I felt the blood drain from my face. What do you mean? Her eyes darted toward the door. He watches everything. Cameras. Recordings. Even in this room. Say no more. Please. That night, I cried myself to sleep, hands protectively cradling my belly. I whispered to the tiny life inside me, I'll get us out. Somehow. I promise. But promises are hard to keep when you're trapped. The next morning, Daniel surprised me with breakfast in bed. Thought I'd do something nice for my lovely wife, he smiled. You need your strength now, don't you? I stared at him, trying to read his face. Could he know? Did he suspect? He leaned forward, brushing a lock of hair from my face. When were you going to tell me? My breath caught. Tell you, what? That you're pregnant. I blinked. He laughed softly. You think I don't notice things, Emily? You've been eating less, you sleep more, and you threw up twice last week. I'm not a fool. He stood, then walked to the window, hands clasped behind his back. Congratulations, darling, he said without turning around. You're giving me an heir. That makes you valuable. For now. Tears welled in my eyes. I'll take good care of you, he continued. As long as you behave. As long as you don't start acting like her. I didn't need to ask who her was. He turned back to me and smiled. Think of it this way. You're safer here than anywhere else. No one can hurt you unless I decide to. And just like that, I knew. I wasn't his wife. I was his possession. I began counting time not in days, but in heartbeats. Each one was a silent prayer. A hope. A quiet whisper to whatever God was listening. My body changed slowly. My belly began to round, the faintest swell of life announcing itself beneath my loose silk dresses. Daniel started treating me like a delicate piece of glass, still cold, still calculating, but careful. He took me to the doctor once, one of his choosing. A man with a blank face and no questions. I wasn't allowed to speak during the examination. When I tried to ask about vitamins, Daniel squeezed my hand under the table until I almost cried out. "She's doing fine," the doctor said flatly. "The baby is healthy." Daniel smiled. "Good. That's all that matters." Back at home, I spent most of my time in the small courtyard garden. It was the only place without cameras. Mrs. Lee had whispered that to me one afternoon, risking everything. "He doesn't think you'll try anything there. But don't stay too long." It became my sanctuary. I sat by the koi pond, whispered stories to the baby in my belly, and stared at the high stone walls that kept me from freedom. I imagined scaling them. Running. Screaming. But I couldn't risk it, not when every move could end 2 lives. One afternoon, as the breeze rustled through the bamboo, I heard a voice behind the wall. A moon. Speaking softly, cautiously. "Young madam? Are you there?" My heart jumped. I looked around, then crept closer to the edge of the garden. "Yes," I whispered. "Who are you?" "My name is Wei. I work for your father. He's been trying to reach you. But your phone is off. We suspected something was wrong." Tears sprang to my eyes. "Please, tell him Daniel is dangerous. He's not who he says he is." "I can't stay long," Wei said quickly. "He has men watching this place. Even me. But the governor is worried. He said you haven't replied to any messages. He suspects your husband." "He's a murderer," I said, choking on the words. "He killed his first wife. He's stolen everything from me." There was silence. Then Wei spoke again, his voice trembling. "We thought something was off, but to hear you say it." "I'm pregnant," I whispered. "I can't leave without help. Please." "I'll try to send word," he promised. "But be careful. Don't let him know I spoke to you." That night, Daniel was different. Too quiet. Too watchful. He served me dinner himself and sat across the table, eyes fixed on mine. "How was the garden today?" he asked smoothly. I looked up, hiding my panic. "Peaceful. It helps with the nausea." He nodded, sipping his wine. Then, slowly, he reached into his pocket and pulled something out. A tiny device. A recorder. He placed it on the table between us. "Tell me, Emily," his smile was cruel now. "Who were you talking to over the wall?" I couldn't breathe. I was singing," I lied quickly. "I sing to the baby sometimes." His eyes narrowed. Liar. He stood suddenly, grabbing the edge of the table. His rage burned through the calm like a wildfire. "You think I don't know? You think I didn't hear a man's voice? Who is he? Huh? Who's trying to take you from me?" I flinched. My stomach twisted in fear. "I swear, Daniel. I didn't." He grabbed my wrist, hard enough to bruise. If I find out you're talking to anyone, I will end you. And I'll make sure your father watches it happen." He threw my arm away and stormed out, slamming the door so hard the chandelier trembled. I collapsed onto the floor, shaking, hugging my belly. "Please," I whispered. "Please survive this with me." The next day, Mrs. Lee came to my room early, before sunrise. Her face was pale. "There's no time," she said quickly. "He's going to move you to his mountain house. Cut you off completely. You must leave now." I blinked. "But how?" She pulled out a small key and a burner phone. "Take the side gate. Jen is waiting in the alley." I convinced him. "He has a sister your age." I hesitated, trembling. "He'll kill you if he finds out." Mrs. Lee gave a sad smile. "He'll kill all of us eventually. Go." With nothing but a coat and my baby growing inside me, I slipped out the side gate as the sky turned blue. And for the first time in weeks, I ran. My feet didn't stop moving until they began to bleed. Jen drove like the wind through the narrow back roads of Suzhou, glancing at the rearview mirror every few seconds, as if Daniel's shadow could reach us on wheels. He didn't speak much, just handed me a bottle of water and said, "I have a sister. She was trapped once too." I nodded, too numb to cry, too wired with fear to thank him. We reached Hangzhou by early afternoon, weaving through traffic until we reached the governor's residence, my childhood home. The tall stone walls, the gold dragon gate, the security officers in their black suits. Everything looked the same. But I wasn't the same girl who'd left weeks ago in a white wedding dress. I was broken. Pregnant. Hunted. The guards recognized me immediately. The moment I stepped out of the car, they surrounded me with gasps and confusion. "Miss Emily? Notify the governor, now." I was ushered into the compound, into my father's private study. I'll never forget his face when he saw me. Governor Liang, the man who never let emotion show in public, rushed to me like a desperate father. "Emily," he gasped. "Where have you been? What happened? Why didn't you answer?" I burst into tears before I could speak. The words came out in a jumble. "He lied, he's dangerous, he took everything, he killed his first wife, Baba, he said he'd kill me too." My father's face darkened in a way I'd never seen before. The calm, calculating politician dropped away. What remained was a father. "Sit down," he said firmly, wrapping his coat around my trembling body. "No one will hurt you now. I swear it." Within the hour, the house was in lockdown. Phones were confiscated. Guards were tripled. My father didn't wait for police. He called the State Security Bureau directly. "I should have done this sooner," he muttered, pacing the room. There were rumors about Daniel before the wedding, but I wanted to believe he was clean. "I wanted you to be happy." I sat on the couch, sipping ginger tea brought by Auntie May, our longtime cook. My hands shook so badly she had to hold the cup for me. The head of internal security, a sharp-eyed woman named Captain Zhao, arrived soon after. She took my full statement. Every detail. Every bruise. Every threat. "You're very lucky," she said when I finished. "Very few women who marry men like Daniel get out alive." "But he'll come for me," I said, gripping the cup. "He said he'd never let me go. That no one would find my body." Captain Zhao gave a tight smile. He won't get close enough to try. That night, I stayed in my old bedroom. Everything was untouched, my high school posters, the lavender curtains, even my violin case in the corner. But I didn't sleep. I lay awake, one hand on my belly, the other clutching the burner phone Mrs. Lee had given me. I couldn't stop thinking about her. The next morning, news broke. Daniel was missing. Gone from the Suzhou villa. Staff scattered. The place wiped clean. He knew. Somehow, he knew I escaped. And he ran. My father raged. That bastard. He'll disappear into the mountains, or flee the country. But I'll find him. I swear I'll find him. Captain Zhao ordered checkpoints at all major borders, airports, and train stations. A nationwide warrant was issued under a false name, Operation Black Swan. But I knew something they didn't. Daniel wouldn't run far. He loved control too much. He'd come back for me. For the baby. And he'd kill anyone in his way. On the third day of my return, the first letter came. No postage. Just a blood-red envelope slid under the garden gate at dawn. Inside was a note in Daniel's handwriting. You thought you could run, Emily? But you forgot one thing. I always finish what I start. I stared at the paper, hands trembling, heart racing. I wasn't safe. Not yet. Not even close. The letter haunted me. I carried it everywhere, folded tightly in my coat pocket like a talisman, or a warning. Every creak in the house, every gust of wind at night, made me jump. Daniel was out there. Watching. Waiting. Captain Zhao doubled my security. My father offered a reward for any information leading to his arrest. But I knew it wouldn't be enough. Men like Daniel don't run. They hunt. That week, I moved into a private safe house in Ningbo, one of the governor's undisclosed properties, guarded, unlisted, quiet. The windows were bulletproof. The walls lined with sensors. But none of that could calm the storm inside me. The baby kicked off, and now. A strong, fluttering push beneath my ribs, as if reminding me, we're still alive. Keep going. One evening, during a heavy rain, I stood at the window, watching water trace long streaks across the glass. I heard a sound behind me, soft, almost polite. I turned. There he was. Daniel. Soaked. Dressed in black. Standing in my living room. I screamed. But no one came fast enough. He lunged forward, covering my mouth with his gloved hand. Shh. I told you, Emily. I always finish what I start. My body froze with terror. My baby twisted inside me as if it sensed the danger. He pushed me down into a chair, calm and precise, as though he'd done it 100 times before. You ruined everything, he hissed. I gave you a beautiful life, and you spat in my face. You lied to me. I sobbed. You murdered your wife. You used me. He laughed bitterly. She was weak. She betrayed me. I couldn't let her poison my reputation. And you were perfect. Untouched. A governor's daughter. The world would never suspect me. My eyes darted to the silent alarm button under the coffee table, just 2 feet away. I didn't betray you, Daniel. I loved you. Until you showed me who you are. His eyes flared. He stepped closer. Then maybe it's time to remind you. The moment his hand moved to his belt, I kicked the chair backward. It crashed, throwing him off for just a second, enough for me to dive toward the table and slam my fist against the alarm button. A deafening siren wailed. Daniel roared in fury and grabbed me by the arm, yanking me up. "You want them to see this? You want your guards to find your body?" he shouted. Doors burst open. Gunshots exploded through the room. Daniel froze. Blood bloomed from his shoulder. He dropped me and stumbled back, crashing into the vase stand. Captain Zhao entered, gun drawn, flanked by 4 armed officers. "Don't move, Daniel." But he didn't raise his hands. He looked at me, really looked at me, and said softly, "I should have killed you the first night." Another shot rang out. This time, he fell. I covered my mouth, gasping, watching as the men I once called my husband collapsed onto the floor. Captain Zhao ran to me. "Emily, are you hurt?" I shook my head, breathless, tears falling freely now. "The baby, please check the baby." An ambulance came minutes later. I was rushed to the hospital. They did an emergency scan. Heartbeat, strong. Movement, active. My baby had survived. I had survived. Later that night, my father sat beside me, his hand in mine. "He's gone, Emily. It's over." "No," I whispered. "It'll never be over." "Not really." And I meant it. Even though Daniel was dead, the scars remained. His voice still echoed in my sleep. His touch still lingered on my skin. But I wasn't afraid anymore. Months passed. And on a quiet spring morning, I gave birth to a healthy baby girl. I named her Li Hua, beautiful blossom. She had my eyes. My strength. She would never know her father's name. Only her mother's story. A story of survival. A story of a girl who married a killer, but chose life. For herself. And for the daughter who would never live in fear. If you felt something from my story, please don't forget to subscribe to this channel. Thank you.